Let's shift gears because I want to make sure we definitely talk about your YouTube channel. And if you could tell, it's called Swarm Comics, and it's fantastic. I really like watching it. I watch every single episode that Randy does because I really enjoy them, and I learn a lot from it too, which is good. And can you just tell the audience a little bit about what got you started with comic books in general?
Yeah. So, growing up in the 70s, we had Wonder Woman on TV. Everything was Spider-Man, covered in Spider-Man. We had a live-action Spider-Man TV show. We had cartoons. We just loved superhero stuff. I grew up with my brother, Bill. My mom got remarried, and I have a wonderful stepbrother, Mark, and my stepsister, Trina, and then a half-brother, those aren't real titles, sorry, and then my brother, Larry, So I have a great little family, but growing up when we were youngest, it was my brother, Bill. I want to make sure I recognize the whole family, but we just loved all this stuff. We had Batman underoos, There's a great story real fast where we got in a car accident when we were kids, and my brother bumped his head and was unconscious, and they brought him into the hospital. And I was okay, and he was okay. He was okay. It gave him superpowers. It made him even smarter. He has a master's degree at Harvard and works at Harvard. He got his superpowers. Mine just probably made me dumber. But I'll never forget, we were wearing underoos. He had Batman underoos on, and I had like Spider-Man underoos on. And I saw them bring him in and have to take his clothes off and cut his clothes off to check him out. And all I could think of was, there's my brother Bill. We're like 8. In his Batman underoos. How embarrassing is that? He's unconscious and doesn't care. And they came out and asked me if I was okay. And I said yes, because there was no way you were seeing my Spider-Man underoos. There was no way you were seeing them. It wasn't happening.
That's hilarious.
But we loved we got comic books. Matter of fact, when he was in the hospital, people brought gifts to go visit him, and he got tons of comic books. Hot Stuff, Casper comics, superhero comics. So we were always like fringe fans. And when we got to about 12, 11, somewhere 10, 11, around there, we used to go to a little mall, indoor mall thing where there was a Marshall's clothing store, but there was also a convenience store, pharmacy, whatever you want to call it. It was called Archer Kent's. And they had a spinner rack. My brother Bill and I started buying comics off the spinner rack.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved out of the city of Quincy, which we did love growing up in, and we moved to Weymouth. And there was a kid in our neighborhood named Louis Zioli. And not only did he introduce us to so much more about comic books, he introduced us to the concept of a comic book store. New England Comics, actually at the time it was called New England Collectibles. That's how long ago it was. That was probably 83.
Oh, okay.
And we went to this, and the funny part of the story was, our New England Collectibles store was in Quincy where we already lived. Now we moved to Weymouth. So we just dove head on. This was also around the time you're hitting 83, you're hitting the new outfit for Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So hit the black costumes here. There's a lot of big change coming at this time. And so there's this big hype. We had that big hype when Superman died. We get these big things that transcend comic books and that transcend the genre, that transcend the hobby or whatever. And that was the black costume. So this whole this confluence of events of discovering comic book stores. We used to stop at a little convenience store walking home from school that had comic books. It was just all of a sudden we had more access to it. Now I've got a paper route and I've got money. I'm 12 years old, And now we've got this huge thing, Secret Wars, hit in 84, 83, 84. So that's how we got into it. We were always kind of fans of comic books and comic book stuff. Now we were full on. Now we were, every comic you could think of that we could get off the shelf, we could.
I know just from watching your channel that you were very much more into Marvel comics than DC comics. Why do you think that was? That's a tricky question.
It is tricky, and it's tricky because I would probably have given you a different answer a while ago. I honestly just think there was more Marvel comics on the shelf at the time. Everything was Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah.
Wolverine was exploding. The Punisher hadn't exploded yet, but Wolverine was starting. The X-Men were starting. So, because you got to figure Giant Size X-Men was 75 and now we're talking 82. Like Wolverine had 82, 83. Wolverine has limited series in 82. So Wolverine was hitting big. I just think Marvel comics were just more on the shelf. But also, Louis Zioli that I mentioned, he was a big Marvel Comics fan.
Oh, okay.
So that was definitely a super influence from there. We weren't against them. We just didn't see them as much because, like I said, we're watching Wonder Woman. Oh, Linda Carter, right? And
Good memories.
We watched all the Batman cartoons. Like we didn't think Marvel versus DC. We didn't have any context. I will also tell you a funny thing. Loved baseball when I was a kid. My mom used to watch on the TV. One little TV this big. When my mom wanted to watch baseball, we'd watch baseball. And years later, I said, Mom, why did you love baseball? I didn't know you loved sports. She goes, oh, I didn't love sports. All the girls loved the third baseman on the Red Sox, Butch Hobson. We used to just watch it for the hot third baseman.
No kidding. Oh, no, that's a riot. Oh my gosh.
She also used to watch hockey. And I said, you used to watch the Bruins. She goes, right. Because I used to love watching Derek Sanderson. All the girls, his long flowing hair when they had no helmets on and everything like that.
Right.
So we used to see it on there. But I didn't, and I collected baseball cards. And I had a baseball glove. We used to play in the yard, my brother and I, just the two of us. Play our own game. Invisible people on the bases,
Nice.
But I didn't hate the Yankees. That was the point of that. I had a Yankees card. I had a Ron Guidry glove.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have this idea of I'm supposed to hate another thing. I didn't hate the Yankees, and I didn't hate the Marvel or a DC or anything like that. Now that people are like firmly divided on what they like or don't like, So I just think it was more exposure, and I think my buddy Louie who really got us into the.
So how did this then move into, Randy, how did this move into you talking about its, in terms of like a channel, which this was like the primary focus of the channel?
Yeah. It was actually when I got into grading my comic books. So I'd never graded comic books before. I had one graded comic book that I bought pre-graded, and I really didn't know anything about it. For someone who'd collected since the early 1980s, here we are, the year was probably 2022. I don't know how many years, I can't do time math, but that was a lot of years. And I never didn't know a thing about grading. Didn't know how long I've been around, it wasn't anything I cared about. I just read my comic books. Matter of fact, when I sold most of my collection a few years ago, I just wasn't reading them, I was toting them around, but I kind of went through them a little bit and said, what books do I want to keep, right? And the funniest part of that story is I found a New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool, not even in a bag and a board. I didn't even remember I had it. And I was like, oh, like I didn't think I should keep this in the best condition ever. I should have it in bags and boards and I'm going to get it graded and save it someday. I just threw them in a box. I read them.
Oh, I see.
I just read them. But when I met my friend Tommy Anderson at a yard sale a couple of years ago, we became friends and started talking. He was pressing comics and submitting them to CGC. And I was like, well, I kept my older comics. I should probably dig those out and look at them. So he's like, yeah, I'll send them in to get graded for you. So we started grading them. And when we sent the first batch in, he goes, you should really film that throw it on YouTube. People find that stuff interesting. An unboxing. I didn't know what an unboxing was. I hate being such an old person sometimes. I don't know what an unboxing is. I don't know what a TikTok is. I don't know what a Pokemon is. No, I'm sorry. I got corrected. It's Pokemon. I'm saying it correctly, okay? And
we're not editing that, by the way.
I know. I hate being an old person sometimes on certain things. I don't know anything about grading or pressing. I don't know what you're talking about. I just read comic books. And he said, just film the video the first time. He goes, you get your books back. So I did that. And I fell in love with the grading. I probably spent way too much money and time on it, including grading books that I probably shouldn't grade. But I got the fever because my first batch of books, he helped me pick out of my books what I should get graded. How did I know anybody cared about Amazing Spider-Man 300? I just had it in my comic book box. Maybe not even a bag and a board. I don't even know. He's like, he looked at the books and he goes, you have Amazing Spider-Man 300. You have the first appearance of Deadpool. You have all these books. He goes, you need to send them in. So I got the first batches back. And the grades were unbelievable. Like I got a 9.8 on I got this 9.8 on Amazing Spider-Man 300. Cool, that sounds good.
And then 9.8's just for our people here watching. That's like that's pretty much like the best you can get.
When you get graded, you're never getting a 10. You're never getting a 9.9. You're just not. Kind of the top tier for all. If you were to send in the same comic book, 10,000 copies of it, to get graded, you might get one of them as a 9.9. You're just not getting it. So CGC is the company that we use for grading. There's others, but I use that one. They grade the comic, they give it a number grade, and they put it into a plastic lucite slab. And that protects it, keeps it protected. It gives you, it also, if you ever wanted to sell it, you're guaranteed to know what the grade is, so somebody knows what to pay for it. You can look at history.
They know what they're getting.
They know what they're getting. So I got a 9.8 on this Amazing Spider-Man 300. I said, cool, sounds good. And then afterwards I looked it up. It turns out that's a $3,000 book.
Wow.
But I didn't have any idea.
But what I was going to ask you though is that when you have to think about like your most treasured book that you have, like the Like if you had friends come by and you wanted to show off like the greatest book that you feel like you have, what is that book? I know it's a tough thing to narrow down.
It isn't.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because it actually is the first graded book I ever bought.
Oh, okay.
A friend of mine was just like, hey man, I'm selling some of my stuff. I'm going through some shit. I'm selling some stuff. Do you want to buy this graded book? And I was like, I don't know what a graded book is, but sure, I'll be interested. And he showed it to me. And he lived in, I grew up with him. We actually went to elementary school together since like kindergarten, my buddy Les Lahage. And he's in California now. I think he's a screenwriter and fitness trainer and stuff like that. But when we were little kids, we were just, read comic books. We were just kids, And we used to go to the joke shop and the comic shop and stuff. But Les Lahage said to me, I have this book. And I love the old EC books, the old horror books, Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, all these different books. And he says, I have a Tales from the Crypt, issue 36, I think it is. And it's graded at 9.2. Again, I don't have any concept of it. I'm like, cool. He told me how much. It was way more than I'd ever spent on a comic book, and I probably didn't spend that much in a year on my monthly reading comic books. But I said, this might be something special. This is interesting. And I wanted to help him. By the way, he's been trying to buy it back for me ever since.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Regrets
Les.
on his
Sorry,
part.
Les. But I bought this book. Now, a 9.2, again, we're talking grade numbers here. 9.2 is still up in the near mint condition for a book. From 1953, 51, somewhere around there. Between 51 and 53. It was the EC Comics. Like, everybody's seen, Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that on the HBO and movies and stuff. And these were the comics back in the day. That's a whole video you could go into. But what it was also is it's called a Gaines file copy. I don't really have any concept of what that meant. Again, I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. But once I started getting into grading and knowing what I had, then I realized what I had. William Gaines Jr. owned EC Comics. He inherited it from his father, who used to publish. He was very strict and used to publish actually like Christian published materials and things like that. And then he took over, started EC Comics, put out all these horror comics and pirate comics and sci-fi comics. Frank Frazetta, the famous artist, was drawing for them. Wally Wood, all these famous artists. And of course, once the government shut them down and brought out the Comics Code, they all disappeared. And the fun story is that one of the comics was called Tales Calculated to Drive You Mad.
Oh, okay.
And what William Gaines Jr. said was, well, you know how I can get around this Comics Code authority? I can turn it into a magazine, and I'm going to take Tales to Drive You Mad, Calculated to Drive You Mad, into just Mad. We're now going to have Mad Magazine.
Oh, I never knew that. Oh, okay.
So there actually is no Mad Magazine #1. They picked up the numbering from the comic book. I think the last comic book was 33 or something like that. It's something like that. I could be wrong, sorry, if I forgot the story. But that's how Mad Magazine came out, which everybody knows Mad Magazine.
Did you talk about that once on your channel?
Probably in one of my videos.
Yeah, I was gonna say now it's coming
Yeah.
back to me. Like I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. I never knew that.
But that's how it started.
That. Yeah.
Now, William Gaines Jr. used to go to the printer and have them give him 12 to 14 copies of every single comic book they published. He'd wrap it in butcher's paper and put it into an office and filing cabinets.
Wow.
So they were never read, they were never exposed to the elements or anything like that. They were just stored. And then he died in the 90s, and his family auctioned off this collection of comic books. So Tales from the Crypt, it wasn't #1. That's a whole other story because titles used to change on comic books all the time. They'd pick up, So Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, sci-fi comics, all of them had like 12 copies that were like perfect condition. The family kept half of them, and they auctioned the other half off, and they became known as the Gaines file copies. They were owned by William Gaines Jr., the guy who started EC Comics and started Mad Magazine. This graded comic at a 9.2. By the way, comics from 1951 are not 9.2s. They're not near mint condition. They were read, they were thrown away, they were tossed around, they were folded, they were whatever. They were drawn on. So not only is the rarity of the comic the rarity of the condition, but the rarity of being owned by William Gaines Jr. and never being circulated. There's so few of them you don't even know how to price them. The rule of thumb is find the highest price and then double it because it's a Gaines file copy. So not only do I love the idea of it, I love the Tales from the Crypt, and I love owning this. So it's kind of the crown jewel of my comic collection.
Nice.
And not just because it's worth money.
Yeah.
It's actually just so cool.
It means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you something. What when you're visualizing this channel and the things that you're doing, because you're very active on it. Like I said, I'm a regular viewer because I really enjoy it, and I find you funny also too on there, which is helpful. Is also, I guess I wanted to ask you is, what do you hope to ultimately accomplish with this channel, if anything? You know, it might just be like, no, I just like to just sit there and just, but is there anything that you want to see happen with it?
It's such a fantastic question. Again, not a loaded question. I don't know any of these beforehand. I feel like you're just spitballing, which I love. My wife and I love sitting on this couch. I love my wife. Hi, babe. Hi, Beth. She sits here, I sit here. We watch TV, do crafts, whatever it happens to be. But sometimes we just get into super in-depth conversations. The dog falls right asleep between us, get lulled to sleep. And she said to me before, she goes, what is your goal here? Like maybe I was being interviewed on a secret camera or something like that. And I didn't have an answer for her. I really had to think about it. She's so smart and she asks such good questions. And she just loves to know things and understand things. She's so smart. And what is your goal? And I didn't know. Why am I doing this? Do I like the attention? Am I joining a community to have social interaction? I don't know why. Is it an ego thing? Is it a community thing? And I don't even know if I can give you an answer. And she said, what is your goal eventually? Is it to monetize? Is it to have 1 million subscribers? Is it to make money? Is it to be your hobby? And I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think it would be. I don't care if I'm monetized. I don't want ads on my videos. I want you to watch them ad-free. I want you to enjoy them. I want you to have fun. I want you to learn things. I get comments from people when I talk about things. So when I'm unboxing comic books, I actually don't know what's in the box because my buddy Tom Anderson, the Silver Age collector on Instagram, he has all my expensive comic books and he submits them like 15 at a time and he mixes it up to what's going to be in there. So when I open the box, I don't know what's in there. So I can't have a story for you beforehand. I don't know what my guessing the grade is going to be when I unbox this. Am I angry because the grade is too low or am I happy because it's higher? So sometimes when I'm talking about the books, I don't get my facts right or I miss things or there's more information and people in the comments comment and give me information. I'm learning from them. People learn from me. I just find it enjoyable. I have no goal of becoming comic book YouTube famous or being monetized. I just enjoy doing it.
Your passion comes through big time when you're watching you.
I appreciate it.
And I can tell you that one of the things I've said to my own wife when I started watching them was that I felt like I was learning a lot because as I've shared with you and because we had a conversation about it, but I have a collection also that I've been lugging around for many, many decades. So I've learned a lot from the things that you've talked about, and that's been very, very helpful. I guess my last thing I wanted to ask you is that, in terms of like a legacy, of yourself or anything like that, when you think, because we're getting older, we're still young, but we're getting older. Everybody says we're old. I like to think we're older. That's okay. I'm lucky to be here, and that's the way I see it every day. But I guess I wanted to ask you, in terms of like thinking about these things with, who you are, the music that you do, the performances that you put on, the channel, the being on, what do you see as like, what would you want to be? Because, we both lost Mary together when we were on the show. Yeah. And I think a lot about her a lot in terms of, like what was left behind about her? What made her so special that people still talk about her? We're talking about her right now. What do you think was something that you wish would be a legacy for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something I struggle with. And what's funny is when I talk about legacy, I would normally move towards thinking about family. I don't have any kids. I didn't want kids. I don't regret not having kids, but I regret not having a legacy to hand down to them. I know I love how close you are with your boys and what you're handing down to them and what you're teaching them. I think I would have been a good father.
Oh, definitely.
And I think I would have had more of an excuse to buy more toys and comic books if there was kids, but it was just a choice I made. I see my brother Bill, his legacy is in his writing, in his novels, in his kids that he's passed down. And I've struggled with what's mine. Am I just going to be forgotten about? Is once in a while something's going to come up on Facebook or whatever the thing is at the time, Blue Sky, and someone says, oh yeah, Randy, he was in a band, I remember him. I don't know. I don't know what my legacy is. There's, thankfully, hopefully music and YouTube videos of mine will survive forever and people will think back and say, oh, he always made me laugh, or he was a good guy, or, just like that. I don't know if that's a real answer to the question, but I struggle with it because I think when I'm gone, Am I just going to be forgotten? Is there some type of object permanence where when I'm not here anymore, I cease to exist?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I do remember Mary Frances Church from Death Kiss Radio, and we did the great comp where I was on her comp, the Death Kiss 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when she comes up, I think about her, and I love remembering her, and I see her in my memories on Facebook. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, luckily she had a daughter that people still remember and bring up.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a legacy there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be forgotten, but I'm at peace knowing I probably will be.
You know, I'm going to give you something real quick because I know we probably have to start wrapping up soon. But you know,
Yeah,
one of the
Randy,
things,
no.
this was fantastic, by the way. You were super funny. You know, I think that one of the things that I wanted to share with you, which I don't know if I've ever actually said before, but I'm going to say it today, is that when you go to one of your shows, and I've done shows with you,
Yeah.
so I feel okay to say this, is that there is such a good sense of your friends that really come to these shows. And I always like it because you've got this way, the way that you, I've always felt this way, I've never said this to you, but the way you are on stage is you are performing and you're singing, but it's also like, it's like an event, you know, and there's a lot of exchange between you and the crowd and stuff like that. And I've always been so impressed by the fact that you've got this like fantastic group of friends that like come out. And I know you've got friends like all over the place and stuff, and they really come out, and they come out strong with a lot of support. And I have to say that, you know, it's been, as someone who's performed with you, you know, it's just always so wonderful to kind of see like, you know, your friends are like really there and they're into the music and all that. And I think it's just one of those things. That's why like anytime we ever had a show with Swarm of Eyes, it was always one I was looking forward to.
I appreciate
So
that.
that's most of what I had today.
Cool.
So we're going to start wrapping up, and I just wanted to thank Randy for inviting me to his beautiful home. I had this gorgeous ride up from Waltham, like I said before, up to New Hampshire, and the leaves are changing and everything, which was delightful. So that was an added good byproduct. But I wanted to thank you for coming today, and just a superb interview. So
I wanted to thank you for having me on, and I know you're trying to wrap up, but I do love the idea of this podcast, this comment, whatever we want to call it. Everyone's interesting, and Greg had talked to me about it from the beginning and get my thoughts and stuff, and I've loved it ever since, and I can see your channel grow. I love the way you interview people because you really do have that therapist take on things, and your questions are thought out, and I've enjoyed this even more than I thought I was going to.
Oh, good.
Next time, if we do this again, I'll even let you talk next time a little bit. Maybe I'm going to interview. Next video is going to be, we're going to do Everyone's Interesting, but I'm going to interview Greg. I'm guarantee you I'm going to make him do that.
That sounds
And
good.
I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you guys all watching. Thanks for supporting anything.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. And again, this is Everyone's Interesting, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Take good care.